bit about the journey. Aspiration, you founded Aspiration in 2013. And back then, not many financial providers were really thinking about, sustainability, climate change, and kind of catering to special interest groups. So how did you identify sustainability as your focus area? And what was the problem that you were trying to solve?
Well, thank you for having me. Thanks for Tearsheet putting together this conference. Thanks for what you've been doing to shine a spotlight on this growing category of sustainability-focused consumer financial products and companies and features. As you said, we've been at this now for really a decade. And when we were first getting going, there really was nobody else in this space. We started really less from a desire to fill a business void or a void in the banking industry, and more from a sense of mission. I've been working on the issues around climate for many years now, going back to working for then Vice President Gore in the White House back in the 1990s on the issue we were calling back then global warming, and trying ultimately unsuccessfully to get people to pay attention, to get government to take action. And when we started Aspiration, it was really with the feeling that there was an enormous opportunity to create avenues for people to take sustainable action in their daily lives. And that one of the primary ways in which to do so was by integrating into their financial products, into the ways in which they're spending on a daily basis, saving on a daily basis. And that not only were we seeing a rise of ESG in the investing space that was leaving a lot of room for other kinds of sustainable financial options, but that the way in which people were making those daily financial decisions were ones that needed to be informed with all of the aspects of how their money matters and how the ways in which they're deciding how they're going to save their money, where they're going to spend their money, how they're going to spend their money can really be powerful levers to drive sustainable change.
Definitely. And it's really great that, you guys have been innovators on this front, truly, and bringing this kind of agenda to the financial industry, and started from the consumer. And we've been talking throughout today about how consumers have truly been pushing for more sustainability products integrated within their banking products, and really kind of switching towards a mentality where we're all seeing ourselves as enablers. We're all enabling something throughout our deposits, and throughout the choices that we make every day. So considering this context, but also considering this where the industry is at the moment, because we're still not really where we should be. Do you think this consumer pressure is truly powerful enough to change the banking sector in the US or even globally?
Not yet, but I believe it will be. We're seeing a dramatic change that's really being driven on a generational basis. We actually just finished some internal studies that we were doing on the consumer landscape. And when you look at not even people myself or Gen Xers or certainly the baby boomers, but when you look at millennials and Gen Z, very different views of their expectations on the products they're using throughout their lives, on the businesses they're engaged with throughout their lives, be it as customers or employees. And that is already starting to be driving change in the financial sector, and is going to continue to drive real change. That is the biggest piece of the puzzle. It is the place where so much of the climate crisis is seeing its fuel. Literally, the largest financial institutions in the world are doing more fossil fuel financing on a daily basis, funding more oil and gas pipelines and drillings every single day than ExxonMobil will in a year. And what's going to drive that change is going to have to be individuals, one by one, adding up to hundreds of thousands, millions, tens of millions of people saying, we're going to demand change. And by switching to the aspirations of the world, they're driving the other kinds of banks that have been for too long profiting on the destruction of the planet to speed up their own process of making a difference.
Do you think your peers, like banks or fintechs today, do you think they're feeling this kind of competitive pressure from folks such as Aspiration and understanding where it's coming from and the fact that they also should be taking steps towards implementing such products?
Yeah, I'd say the incumbents are starting to, as your first question indicated. Part of what fintechs have been able to do has been to, in effect, serve different communities, not geographic communities, the same way that banks historically have grown, building a branch in one neighborhood and then another one or another city or another state, but serving different communities of people who have different financial concerns, be they because they're living paycheck to paycheck and want to get their paycheck 2 days early, or because they're concerned about their student loans primarily, or because in Aspiration's case, they're conscious consumers and they care about climate. And we've really been, in effect, defining that community and that category. And for those types of consumers, that 25% of the population at large, even bigger when it comes to younger consumers, there really isn't another option for them. And what the large financial institutions are facing is their need to serve everybody. And so they can't do what Aspiration does when it comes to building products and services, both financially and otherwise, around sustainability and conscience and climate.
Wonderful. I'd like to delve a little bit in this consumer aspect and particularly in the adoption. So with your journey, you already been up and running for a decade now, almost a decade. So what's been the adoption journey that you've been noticing throughout this period, and the demand from consumers for a sustainable banking product?
Well, we've seen it continue to grow, really, as the concern around climate has continued to grow, and that saliency of that issue has continued to grow. And you can see that in all kinds of public opinion surveys. You can see that in the growth of ESG investing. 2021 was twice that of, or more than twice that of 2020, 2020 more than twice that of 2019. So it's been growing by leaps and bounds. And we're seeing the same thing when it comes to people's day-to-day spending, whether it's our Aspiration Spend and Save account, whether it's our Aspiration Plus account, whether it's our Aspiration Zero credit card, where we're providing something that is really a single product that allows people to offset the average American's entire carbon footprint just by using it once a day. And so people coming to Aspiration, not just because they're looking for a new financial product, but much more so because they're looking for a way to integrate sustainability into their lives. And more so than the car they drive, more so than whether they're eating a hamburger or a plant-based option, it is that financial tool that allows them to have an enormously meaningful impact, and yet still make that easy and make it automated.
Awesome. So give us a little bit more details on that customer journey. So when they begin their journey on Aspiration, what are some of the tools that you guys offer for them to engage into sustainable investing, for example?
Well, it really starts with the core financial product for most people, which is their day-to-day checking and savings. And so for that, our Aspiration Spend and Save account allows them to have a financial product that does, of course, everything they would expect from their checking account or their savings account, whether it comes to ATM access or fees or interest, but allows them to have something that is fossil fuel free and have that knowledge that they're having that dramatic impact. We created something called the Aspiration Impact Measurement that shows people their own personal sustainability score uniquely out there, allows them to see how the places where they're shopping treat people as well as the planet. And so allows them to make spending decisions on whether they're going to go to CVS or Walgreens or McDonald's or Burger King or take an Uber or Lyft based on how those businesses are treating the environment as well as their employees. And then certainly, as you said, offer sustainable investing and other options as well. I already mentioned our Aspiration Zero credit card. But what we saw as we grew and started seeing millions and millions of transactions every month was that those millions of transactions were really millions of moments of interaction and millions of moments where we could create sustainable action over and above the financial products as well as being integrated into it. And so features like planet protection, which allows people to offset all of their driving based on their gasoline purchases on their Aspiration card. And so know that they have peace of mind knowing that they're zeroing out the carbon impact of their driving. Plant Your Change, which allows them to plant a tree with every purchase that they're making by rounding up that purchase to the nearest dollar. And that's something where we've seen enormous adoption. Last year across all of our customers and across everything we do, Aspiration's customers funded the planting of 77 million trees, making us the largest private sector reforestation endeavor in the world. And that is the equivalent of as many trees as there are in Central Park being planted every 3 hours. And so the carbon impact collectively has been enormous. Basically, the same thing as taking every car in Connecticut off the road for a year and growing. And so it's that mix of sustainability focused consumer financial products, their day-to-day deposits, their day-to-day credit card investments, as well as these sustainability features that ride on top of the financial products that we're able to deliver.
That's amazing. But I also know that you guys have sustainability services, not just for individuals, but you also partner with a lot of other organizations to, help build a greener future. So can you give us a little bit more details on that?
Well, we really see Aspiration fundamentally as a platform for sustainability and really providing sustainability services and delivering that in a lot of different ways. It could be through our Aspiration financial products, the way we've been talking about, but other consumer avenues for delivering sustainability. And as you said, delivering sustainability solutions to all kinds of businesses and enterprises as well. And so that can take lots of different forms. If you're riding a Lime scooter, you can, with a click of the button at the end of your ride on an Aspiration feature, make that entire ride carbon neutral. When you're going to a Boston Red Sox game and you're going to Fenway Park, there is an Aspiration planet protection contribution built into every ticket that's being sold. Working with companies like Deloitte around sustainability focused employee benefits for their workforce so that they can differentiate themselves in a market that is very competitive when it comes to recruiting and retaining great talent. And so we're really seeing what we do as providing all of these different ways for individuals and businesses to integrate and embed sustainability into what they're doing every day. Sometimes I say we are a sustainability focused consumer financial company, the way that Amazon is an online bookseller. That's our DNA. It's how we started. It's a big part of what we still do. But we've taken our ability to deliver sustainability and been growing it into all these different kinds of manifestations.
That's really amazing. And we've mentioned the partnerships. We've talked about the consumer journey and all the products and features that you guys have. But I'm also curious to hear about perhaps some of the challenges that you encountered along the way in building, such an elaborate product or an elaborate service and forming that kind of network of partners to kind of bring this whole thing together, right? Because it takes, it's kind of like a spider web of things. So can you describe perhaps some of the challenges that you've encountered along the way?
Well, absolutely. As probably everybody who's a part of the Tearsheet community knows, it's innovating in the financial sector has all kinds of challenges. And in the past decade, less than that, we've launched a broker-dealer, a series trust around mutual funds, two different mutual funds themselves, a sustainably focused checking account, a sustainably focused credit card product, and probably others as well. And each of those has been challenging as we've tried to bring something new to market, not just a new credit card in and of itself, or not just a new cash management account in of itself or checking account, but do so with a different kind of value proposition and a different kind of approach. And so partnerships have been really central to how we've been able to deliver those products, bring innovation, bring something unique and different into the space for this group of conscious consumers that's not your traditional financial optimizers. These aren't the people who are, again, out there hunting for just the best interest rate or the lowest fees or whatever else it might be, but who are looking to integrate sustainability into their financial lives the way they've already done so when it comes to what kind of groceries they're going to buy or what kind of clothes they're going to buy or how they get to work or any of these other kinds of decisions. And so creating this category has been a whole second level on top of all of the challenges just of creating a company and creating the kinds of financial products that are going to be attractive to millions and millions of consumers.
Awesome. And kind of, with regards to these partnerships and these collaborations that you've nurtured over time, I'm wondering if you're seeing anything different now, maybe this year or maybe over the past year, with regards to the appetite of perhaps other organizations that want to partner with you or who want to, take a step towards embedding sustainability products within their own products. So can you describe perhaps maybe what you've seen, this evolution that we've been seeing, and what's your perspective on it?
Well, it very much is an evolution, and we talked about that in terms of the consumer landscape, but in terms of partnerships, in terms of businesses overall, we're seeing a very similar kind of evolution. I really think of it as a 0 to 1 moment where we're in a time right now where there's been some pioneers and there's more and more companies seemingly every day who are out there who are saying we need to do something around sustainability, not just because of the kindness of our heart, not just because we have a CEO or board member who cares, not just because of investor pressure, government pressure, but because it's central to how we make money, because the consumers that we're going after are voting with their dollars. The employees we're going after are voting with their time. And for these companies, they are trying to figure out how they make that leap, how they go from 0 to 1. There's been about a third of the Fortune 500 that have made net zero commitments over the past years, some with more teeth than others, some more real than others. But when I look out 3, 4, 5 years from now, I anticipate just about every one of the large companies, as well as medium-sized companies, as well as small businesses, will all be feeling that pressure to go climate neutral, if not climate positive. And we're seeing that momentum grow, and we're seeing it accelerate. And in some ways, it's, to me, a little bit like the early days of the internet. If we think back to the 1990s, there were the dot-coms that were seen as separate and apart from what people were calling the real economy, the brick and mortar businesses. And they were those businesses that were online. And then you had this similar kind of dynamic where there was this 3, 4, 5 year period where every business decided, we need a website. We need to go online. If we're going to be successful, we need to actually transform our business to actually bring it online. And we're seeing that same kind of dynamic play out with sustainability, and it's growing. And the demand for products and services that are going to be able to help these companies make that transition so that they can be profitable in the future, so that they can get the best employees out there in the future is just growing by leaps and bounds.
Yes, definitely. And we celebrate this momentum really, and are super excited that, it's finally becoming table stakes, as my colleague, we've talked to Patch about that. But kind of in light of this, I wonder if you have any advice for companies that are beginning their sustainability journey. Obviously, this is kind of like this year, I feel like it's going to be a catalyst for this. And I think a lot of businesses, a lot of leaders, a lot of managers are starting to ask these questions and, kind of entering this new territory. So you've been around this field for a while. What would be some of your perhaps lessons or steps or advice that you could share with the wider business community on how to start thinking about changing their business to become more sustainable?
Yeah. I think there's an enormous advantage for early adopters. And there's going to be businesses out there that are going to reap the benefits of having made that transition. And there's going to be businesses out there that will lag behind and pay the price for it. And we saw that play out in that internet transformation. Some of those businesses that were more forward-leaning made that transition, and then there was the Sears and the J.C. Penney's of the world that hung back and did not. And so I think my advice is to lean forward. But the second piece of advice, and sometimes it pulls against the first, is you have to do it right. And there is a cost for inaction. There's a cost of not taking the right actions. And I think there is this move towards quality, towards making sure that when businesses are taking these steps, they are doing so with real credibility, because the only thing worse than not doing anything is doing something in a way that is fake, or that is greenwashing, or that is seen as greenwashing, that does more harm than good. So I would say there's great partners out there, Aspiration, there's others who do different pieces of this as well. But part of what we've really focused on is building this one-stop shop for businesses that are looking to go climate neutral, from the footprinting through the tools and solutions, all the way through that very important part of telling that story. Because for businesses to succeed, they can't just put out a press release. They can't just put out a sustainability report. They have to build that experience into what the customer sees every day. Again, just as those businesses 25 years ago, 30 years ago, couldn't just put up a website and not change the way that they were interacting with their customers. And so I think doing it right matters. And those that do it right will reap enormous rewards and will be part of this gigantic transformation.
Yes, definitely. And I really love that parallel with the internet. And I think it applies to the digitization as well. So, it's not enough to build a website. You have to build a good website, because the customer is going to tell at some point that it's not working for them, and, they're going to switch to some other provider. So I think, there's definitely some lessons to be learned on the sustainability side as well. As you mentioned with greenwashing, it's a huge issue at the moment. But hopefully in time, we're going to weed out the bad actors. So getting close to our time here, at the end of our session. And I am curious to find out what's next for Aspiration.
So much, as we look at this landscape, there's so much that we're excited about, that we're going to be rolling out later this year, rolling out next year, new solutions for consumers, new financial solutions, new direct products for consumers that are not necessarily financial, and a whole host of tools for businesses, large businesses, small businesses, HR departments, where we can really be able to take that Aspiration brand, that credibility, the reputation we've built, and help both people and businesses build that climate change fighting action into what they're doing every day, and not just win for the planet, but do better in everything that's their own goals as well.